Can we all see each other?
I can see you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you nice and clear.
Fantastic.
And fabulous.
Great. So I had the real pleasure of meeting Tracy a few months ago at Mega Success in LA. And Sue and I have both read your book. We got on Amazon, and that, by the way, is available. So
people can grab it for free.
Yeah. A quick intro for Tracy, because I had heard a lot about her for ages. Honestly, Tracy, I don't know how famous you are in the JT Fox community, but you are a legend.
Well, thank you.
Tracy is also a TV show host, a TEDx best-selling author in business and self-help, #1 international mega success speaker, and I can vouch for that. She's the #1 global women award-winning transformational leader. She's an honored humanitarian, a success authority, and a decorated athlete. Unstoppable Tracy supports peak performance in you by disarming your limiting beliefs to thrive as the best version of yourself or business. And clearly, there's a play on words that our audience may not be aware of yet, the entire disarming thing. So Tracy, why don't you tell us one of the things that I think surprises most people when they first meet you and they realize, oh my God, where are her arms and her legs?
Well, I could be just holding a cup of tea or something, or holding a pen.
Yes.
Or just standing there holding nothing. And people are like, oh my gosh, you are so inspiring, right? And I'm just standing there. I'm not doing anything. I'm just smiling. I'm like, hello, right? And they have no idea that, I climbed the Himalayas, or I busted Uber into Canada, or I support airlines with mergers and acquisitions and strikes, or that I'm a World Cup sailor with great, big, strong, able-bodied men, 27 men and 3 women kind of thing. So it's kind of funny that I'm just standing there, and whether I had a disability or not, just a woman in a man's world with sailing, or I was in 20 countries in 2018.
Wow, and you were speaking in all of those countries.
All those countries. And one country, so I say 20 countries, so 11 of them were Europe, but that was 33 cities. And then in some cities, there were 2 or 3 presentations. So it's not just 11 countries in Europe, it was 99 presentations in Europe, right? But it counts as 11 countries, 20 countries in 2018.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But none of them included Australia. So hopefully after today, Australia's 2019, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I just showed you the view from our balcony here that I can't show the audience at the moment. We've got a view of the Tasman Sea where the Sydney Hobart race takes place. And you actually see from our balcony here the sailboats going past.
It's beautiful. And I raced in with a big coat on to say hello to you, because we got ready 15 minutes early, and our pipe burst because it's so cold here in Canada that the frozen pipe busts in our house. And here you are sitting on your balcony with all this beautiful greenery watching sailboats go by.
Yeah. And they've got a major heat wave coming through today. It was only 21 Celsius yesterday, and it's supposed to be a high of 35 today. So yeah, we're ready for anything.
Wonderful.
So
I'm so glad to be with you, and so glad to see you, and so glad to join Sue. You called her Tazzy Sue? Tazzy Susan?
That's right.
Tazzy Sue, yes.
That's so fun. And her beautiful artwork on her wall in blue.
Yes.
Is there something special behind you, Sue, that has significance? The other shoulder?
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Yes, that was a gift from a very dear friend. That's hanging with Kuan Yin, and Kuan Yin's very important to our centre here.
Oh.
We have her visiting regularly, so it's a lovely thing.
Oh, magical.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
So do you want to share with
Amber? Sorry.
Sorry. Sue, do you want to share with Tracy some of the questions and inspiration you got from her phenomenal book that's available on Amazon?
It's available for free. UnstoppableUbook.ca. Forget Amazon.
Forget Amazon. Okay, forget it. Forget all I said that.
Yeah, I love it. I love that you say, get your book, but get it for free. UnstoppableUbook.ca.
I know, look, I was just amazed reading that too. I mean, and seeing the photos of you bouncing around in the water instead of in the yacht, and then climbing the mountains in Tibet. That was amazing. And how did you feel doing the mountain climbing? Were you?
It was mind blowing. You know, when we started, it was there was a bit of a test with legs, and that wasn't going to be the option. So we left the legs in Kathmandu and did it on my knees, right? So what viewers, some of the people that might not see sitting here, what we mean by four-way amputee is that my legs end above my knees, so I don't have knees, and my left arm ends above my elbow, and then my right arm is an unusual appendage. It's kind of like an arm, but it's missing the hand. It's just a finger on my right side. And so when I left my legs in Kathmandu, I meant literally, and that I just did it with my elbows and my knees, with my stumps, all my stumps. And it was so great. I love that you're laughing. I love the Aussie humor and around the world. And it was amazing. And so I was so blessed because I was unique, right? The people in the mountains, they feel like they get the tourists all the time, and they kind of go about doing their thing, and they don't want to have, all their pictures taken, and nobody offers even any money to have their pictures in their beautiful garb. And this is what they're wearing to keep warm. This is not meant to be decorative artwork, right? This is their life. And so are kind of distanced from people trekking in the region. But because I was this four-way amputee, I was really unique. And they judge your wisdom and your age by your height. And so without my legs on, I am super short. And then with your book, so I got to be really young. I love that. I loved being extra young because I was extra short. And but they could also see for my height, so therefore my age, I was really smart because I was so short. But they were interested in me. And in the Buddhism culture too is, there's this attachment to belonging, and freedom from attachment is your happiness and your enlightenment. And I was happy. And they couldn't imagine, with no arms and no legs, how I could be this happy person. So therefore, because I'm smiling at them and their wonderful, welcoming ways, I must be very enlightened because I'm not attached to needing arms and legs.
Yeah.
And so clearly, in Canada, I've got technology on my side. I've got legislation on my side. I have more awareness on my side than they do in Nepal. So I must be very humble and say I don't really deserve all of their impressive awareness, I believe, it being in awe of me climbing without my arms and my legs. It's just me going about my day. But because of their interest in me, they figured I had this grand enlightenment, and they followed me everywhere. Like they followed me around the mountain. If I was to go to the washroom, I would fall asleep with people watching me, and I would wake up to people watching me. And if you were lucky, in like 10 days, there was this one waffle sheet metal kind of built shower, which is basically just a bucket of water that they pour over your head between these four sheet metals that are prompted up. So you can imagine there's like little peekaboo holes in between the sheet metal corners. And so I'm in this sort of makeshift shower, loosely called shower. Basically, I'm in between four sheet metals with a bucket of water when I say, okay, and they'll dump the bucket on me, right? So I'm in there, but there's all these eyeballs, looking through the sheet metal corners. Even when I got to have that one bath hole, or shower cleanse down. So, everything. It was amazing to be so close, but I mean, it was vulnerable. They saw me do my everything. And I mean everything, every time I moved. So that, it was pretty phenomenal. It was mine, and it was the most beautiful place of rolling mountains that I've ever seen in my life. And I've been to over 40 countries. But it was also the most impoverished and heartbreaking from the poverty and the water that the children, like there's 3-year-olds that are babysitting babies on their back so that the parents could go try to do rice fields. Oh, look at that. There's some fun action. And we're keeping Sue on her toe because her eyes are in amazement. She needs you and me to fake it that she's not running around circles with you. So it was pretty fabulous. It was incredible. I love.
Yeah, it would have been a fabulous experience. And like, I've been around a lot of places in the world and done a lot of things. And I was always reluctant to go to Nepal because it would just challenge my body too much. And yeah, thank you for putting me back in my box there. So.
You can do it. I can do it. You can do it.
Yeah.
You know what? So
absolutely.
The part I thought the funniest from your book, Tracy, and I know it's a serious book all about how you work with businesses and all your consulting and all the things you do, but the story of you learning how to drive and after you started to drive. Could you share that story with the audience here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's like whenever you learn anything new, right? So I just started to drive. I just got my driver's license. It took me over 30 years. Well, 16 years. You got to be at least 16 to get started. So it took me over 16 years when everybody else, all my other friends did it at 16, but it took me another 16 years to make it happen because people were wondering how without arms and legs. And then, we need $60,000 to adapt it so everything's voice. And so I finally, in being successful in a career and getting at Air Canada and doing consulting, I'm like, okay, I can finance a vehicle and I can make this happen for the hand controls and all of the bells and whistles that you're talking about when I need it. And it ended up being a $750 hand control. It was a cup for my arm, and there was a pole to the gas and a pole to the brake. And my hand was able to steer the car and do the horn and switch the left turn signal and all these pieces. It was easy. So the $750 was an off-the-shelf, regular hand control, pole to the gas, pole to the brakes. All we did was we added a cup. And so this little arm is what I drive my car with.
Wow.
But so 16 years I've been like trying to figure it out. And transportation is one of the most massive obstacles. Right? I can work. I've got an MBA. I'm a teacher. I've traveled to Nepal and Jamaica and Mexico and Uganda and all around the world. But my biggest obstacle in anywhere is when I'm working is the transportation to and from the location.
This is before Uber. This is before Uber.
Before Uber. Yes, Uber is very, very recent, especially in Canada.
Yeah.
So before we bust, and this is what I fought for Uber for, was to bust Uber into Canada so that transportation was easier. So I get my driver's license finally when I'm 30 with the big Air Canada job, which is fabulous. And I get this lightning. I'm like, I can go for fish and chips. And it never, ever had a spontaneous wish for fish and chips or McDonald's as a teenager or steak and lobster or shrimp on the Barbie probably is what you guys might be saying in your neck of the world.
Right.
And so to just go get it, right? For me, it wasn't a spontaneous thing. I didn't ever order anything spontaneous that didn't involve takeout, drive to your door, potentially. And I got this realization. I'm like, I'm craving fish and chips. I don't have to crave it. I can just go get it. And I remember walking in and I'm like, I would like fish and chips, please. And the guy behind the counter is like, I wonder what she is so excited about, because he has no idea that this is the first time that I've driven myself from the driver's desk to him. Like, it was the first place I drove to and alone. And he was just like, she's a little over the top excited. And I saw on the side of the restaurant a beer in the fridge. And I'm like, can I have that too? Like, I thought, wow, I could take takeout beer. But in Canada, at that time, you couldn't take out beer. And he's like, you can't take that out. Like, he thought I was nuts. But of course, I'd never done pickup with a car before. And so it was pretty fun to just order my fish and chips on a whim and drive there and do it. But, you know, like with any beginner task, you know, teenagers learning to drive are like, I can do it. And they're these enthusiastic beginners, right? And then they start to drive, and then it's like, whoa, parallel parking, merging on a highway, reversing into a driveway, like all these things that are harder, and you become this disillusioned learner, which is really tough, right? Yeah. And then you get to this point where you're over capable or you're over cautious. So now you know how to parallel park. Now you know how to merge on a highway. Now you know how to reverse, but you're so cautious because you learned the hard way, a couple of fender benders or just some fearful moments. And so in business, we're kind of like that too. We're like, I can do this job. I can do this job. I can be an entrepreneur. I'm going to do it. And then we jump into it. And then it's really, oh, what's the social media, or where's the sponsorship, or where's the funding, or this month's really tough. There was good income last month, but not next month. And we get disillusioned. But when we get through that and we figure it out and we trust the process and we learn what we need to learn, we make it happen. We don't give up. We go for it. But then we're cautious. And sometimes we become overcautious because we were disillusioned learners. And the reality is we mastered it. We found the funds. We figured out the social. We figured out how to do Facebook Live and Zoom and YouTube, the three of us right here, thanks to Barbara's amazing learning curve and coaching. Barbara figured it out. And so now the caution is a little over the top. We don't need to be so cautious. We can be self-reliant. And no one has to tell us we can do it or how to do it technically. We just need the faith in our mindset. You know, the only thing stopping us from being a millionaire is us, is you, right? We can do it. We just have to believe we can do it. Once we've been through that disillusioned learner and we're in that cautious stage, we just need to believe in ourselves. And so that was very exciting to become a self-reliant driver and buy my first fish and chips.
Yeah, yeah. And part of the book too, you also explain how you used to salute to the people, the other drivers.
Yeah, I don't know what you have to give me a cue, a bit more of a cue.
Well, maybe you can do the gesture, because in the book you said you used to salute to them with your finger, but they might have thought it was a different finger.
Yeah. I forgot. I didn't know which story you were. Oh, I love that. That's my favorite. So I'm leaving the fish and chip parking lot, and still every single day I drive, this happens to me. My mom is British, and we are so polite. And I'm like, thank you. And for those of you that can't see me, I'm holding up one finger and waving in the rearview mirror, one singular finger. I'm like, thank you. Well, it looks like I'm giving people the bird. It looks like I'm swearing with my middle finger because it's one finger. And I only have one finger, one appendage. So I'm saying thank you, but everybody thinks I'm giving them the bird. So it's so funny. Oh, I didn't realize you meant that story. I love that.
No, it's
story.
fantastic. And I love that it ties in to how you do your business and how you do your work, how you do your coaching and your consulting. And it makes perfect sense to help other people get out of their comfort zone and to start doing something new, because you don't have anything new happening unless you try something new. And you can't be trying something new when you're in your comfort zone. It's uncomfortable to try new things.
Yes. And the way people define that uncomfort, right? There's a spectrum of stress, feeling uncomfortable and a little stressed with a new skill. Yeah. That does not equal distress. You are not in that going to have a heart attack. Someone's going to call 911 and take you to the hospital because you're feeling a little uncomfortable or stressed. It's new, it's uncomfortable, it's stressful, but you're not going to die, right? So you push yourself into that uncomfort zone and feel a little stress.
I wanted to talk a little bit too about some of the humanitarian work you've done. If you're willing to share some of your stories with the audience here. because you've done massive amounts of things, not just being in front of everyone and confronting everyone with how do you work with and how do you talk to someone who has a disability, and how they're just people. They're not they're not a label. They're people.
No. Yes.
You've done a lot of other humanitarian work as well. Would you like to share some of that with our audience?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm always being asked to be on boards of director and be an ambassador for. I think I'm on over 20. So before someone gets inspired to ask me, I'm already on 20. I kind of maxed out on my making a difference. And my big cause is World Peace 2035. So where can I make a biggest impact? And my passion for making a difference, like being a teacher right from 18, was doing community work around the world and being in Uganda and Nepal and Jamaica and Mexico and teaching in all of these countries. But what's very similar in making a difference in doing humanitarian work in developing countries, and similar to all of us that are working for not-for-profits or getting into our zone of a peaceful place, of the vortex of a productive zone cone, or being an entrepreneur, however that is. I learned a really great lesson in Jamaica. I remember teaching in Jamaica, and I was having an orange, and the kids in the class who live in Jamaica had not had an orange. And it seemed crazy to me that they're growing all these oranges and bananas and they don't get any. And it's because it's all for import or for creating income.
Yeah.
The children themselves don't even get the bananas and the oranges. So I had this bright idea that I would bring this crate of oranges the next day. I thought I was making a difference. I thought I was doing a good thing by buying and sharing these oranges. And I think it's really important that nothing about us without us, right? A women's initiative needs women to lead it. An initiative for people with disabilities needs people with a disability in the conversation.
Yeah.
An initiative to make a difference for people who are lesbian, bi, gay, trans, queer needs to have people in the LGBTQ community on that mission. And so here I am, right? Tracy from Toronto, Canada, coming into Jamaica, thinking I'm making a difference as a teacher, coming into a classroom in Jamaica with this box of oranges. And of course the kids didn't know how to peel the oranges. And so me and my one finger, I'm like peeling like 30 oranges. And the kids, because they hadn't had oranges, and it was recess time, it was break time. And in Canada, that means the kids can run around and play tag and scream and not fight each other, but play around, right? Do drama, play soccer, right? They get some freedom time because it's recess. And so I'm busy peeling all these oranges, and these kids are all playing, which I, as a teacher, said, play. You have 15 minutes, play. It's recess. Well, these other teachers, the other Jamaican teachers, they came in with these really hard brooms and started chasing the kids around, yelling at them and beating them with these brooms. And I jump up as best as I can, and I try to get myself between me and the kids, and I got the broom on my leg because kids were hiding behind me. And I got some serious welts on my thigh.
Wow.
Just from doing the wraparound to the kids. And the kids were getting the full brunt of it. So I can't imagine what they were getting from what looks like an easy broom, but it wasn't. It was basically like a series of sticks that they're getting hit with that they laughingly call a broom. And it was my fault. Like, I had told the kids to play. And the teachers were saying, well, they know better. Right? You didn't know that they shouldn't be running around screaming like this. And in my heart, I was kind of like, so I wonder what the big deal is.
Yeah.
But the big deal was in Kingston, Jamaica, and there were 8 men with guns at the door protecting these kids. And 8 taxi drivers over the last 8 weeks had died. I don't know why 8 was the magic number, but there were 8 guards, 8 taxi drivers in 8 weeks that had died at that school. So of course they needed some kind of organization, and they needed some kind of infrastructure, and they needed some kind of, in a way, control, so that they could protect these kids the best they could. And so yes, we were in a guarded gate, and yes, it was recess time, but who knows what one thing leads to another? Like, what if they decided to jump the fence, or what if the ball went bouncing somewhere, or who knows? But it wasn't really my place, not understanding the culture. If they've never had an orange, why? Right? Why didn't I ask somebody locally, what do you think? Can I bring these oranges? And if they've never done recess this way before, how come I didn't ask, how come? Right? Why did I just grant that permission without involving local people? Right? Who am I, this big savior, to come in? What sounds like makes sense to us in Canada and Australia and around Europe, right? Why? So I really, and it's funny that I didn't know better, because I find there's a lot of people that want to make a difference for people with disabilities, so they come in with their grand solutions and their grand ideas, but they don't involve me. They don't ask me, you've never lived without arms and legs, so how come you think you've got an idea that will make my life easier when you didn't involve me in that conversation at all? And so same with business, and same with not-for-profits, right? We need to, nothing about us without us. We need to involve people. We need to ask questions. And what's your pain? And what's your gap? And what's happening now? And what would you like it to be? And how come it's not to be right now? So we need to involve people, right? And not be winging in superheroes naively, right? You need to involve people in the conversation so that people are the solution. The people involved are involved in the solution. And so I loved doing humanitarian work around the world, because it taught me at a really young age, that was early 20s, how important it is to ask people and involve people. And that it's not just true for solutions for me, it's true for everybody.
So do you think that's part of your biggest success as a coach and as a consultant, is getting the people involved directly in the new decision-making process that they're bringing you in for? Is that one of your big keys, your big secrets?
I think that's huge.
Yeah.
And you talk, if you think of Jack Welch, right? Jack Welch, it was General Electric CEO, and he hasn't been for years, but while he was there, he's hugely, hugely successful. And when I was at Air Canada, and all the airlines, some of those cheap airlines, Ryanair was the first, I think, in Ireland, but it impacted cheap airlines around the world. And so all like Qantas in Australia, Air Canada in Canada, and so different at Lufthansa in Germany, wherever you were from, many airlines started to go bankrupt because there was a new way of being. Right? And if you do the same thing you do every day, you get the same result. And then new people come in with a new way, and they bust it up. So you got to keep looking forward and keep innovating, and be flexible and ready to change. And so Jack Welch with General Electric at the time, they were big engine suppliers for Air Canada. And so they kindly donated. They said, okay, our biggest customer is Air Canada. And if they go bankrupt, then, or one of their, United Airlines was a big customer. They had a lot of airlines that were big customers. And they said, but if these airlines go bankrupt, then General Electric is impacted. So yes, you sell engines and solutions and technology for airlines, but if they're going bankrupt, they can't buy your business. So he was so smart, he shared with them for free Six Sigma. And Six Sigma, their philosophy and many of their tools are about, look at what's going on now and measure what is the true reality, not what people are guessing, but what's actually happening. And what do you see? What are you observing? And ask the people on the floor that are doing the job, what is actually happening? And you gather that data, and you take work out that's unnecessary. What are steps in the process that don't need to be there, that are just time wasters. And it's like, you know, you picture this apple tree and there's this apple hanging really low. How easy would it be? Like, why get a ladder and pick all the apples from the top of the tree? Why not just reach up and grab that easy apple that's being weighed down and hanging there, gonna hit you in the head if you don't pick it, right? And so if you involve people, there are these low-hanging fruit that are staring you in the face if you just ask the right people, that could lighten the load of your big tree, of your life. Sometimes it's one-on-one coaching, sometimes it's one-on-one health reasons, sometimes it's one-on-one big business. And so it's true, you say, is that like a nugget? And it was part of the nugget. As a person with a disability that's got to figure out how to use a spoon and how to hold a cup of tea, never mind also how to save an airline from bankruptcy. And so it was great to do it in my everyday, and then have corporations and influences from people like Jack Welch with his Six Sigma coaching. And he encourages manage by wandering around, like Tom Peters, manage by wandering around. All these leadership gurus, they give us these answers if we just hear them. But sometimes our filters, we're not looking at that apple that we keep banging our head on, or we keep ducking around, right? It's hanging there looking at us. If I pick that apple, I don't have to duck anymore. And I have the nourishment to eat my lunch, right? Like, so we do this in life sometimes. We put some obstacles in our own way. And so someone outside of ourselves, someone like Barbara or someone like Sue, who's on the outside looking in, they can see it. You're just so used to ducking. You're like, oh yeah, that's always been there. I'm just gonna duck. Whereas Barbara and Sue, you're like, how come you're still ducking? I'm like, oh, well, it's hanging there. Oh yeah. And is it unremovable? Oh no, you could pick it. Oh, so how come you haven't picked it? I don't know, right? Like, so it just takes, like, you guys asking me questions, are natural coaches, and support people in a more balanced life, because you see the fruit that sometimes we're used to just working around when we don't have to.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. What do you think, Sue?
Yeah, the simplest answer is always in plain sight, but we very rarely do see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so true.
So are you ready to dive in for some deep questions, Tracy?
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to.
Excellent. So what is your definition of God?
Of God. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. And I believe he died for our sins on his cross. But I also believe, many years, and until like a couple months ago, I almost resisted that, because for so many reasons. I have, like, my best friend is someone who's gay, and I wouldn't want to believe in a God that was exclusive or indicating that that's wrong in any way. And many, many years as a person with a disability, I would have evangelistic people in shopping malls, like, stop me. And they'd be like near tears, crying and saying, I'm going to pray for you and you're going to grow some legs, right? Like, they want me, like, or even just, they're like, or even like a positive intervention might be, I'm like a teenager buying jeans and I care so much about what everybody else thinks. And then somebody's coming up to me in front of my friends, totally uncool, right? Because saying, you're exactly the way you need to be. Well, I never thought that I wasn't exactly the way I needed to be, right? So them presuming that I was doubting that in myself was like this. I treated it as a teenager like a judgment. I was very defensive about it. And so now as an adult, I appreciate their loving intention, their aim to be positive. They're not trying to be evil, right? It's the way a teenager might see it or hear it. So I really resisted that. So, I do talk a lot about the universe, and I believe a lot in the law of attraction, and what you put out there happens. And it doesn't happen because I say, I want to be a Paralympian and it's going to happen. It happened because I gave up everything. I lived in my car for 3 months and I washed boats for 3 months of a gold Olympian who didn't really think much of me being there. But because I washed his boats for 3 months every day, and I was there every day, like 5:30, and every day I was the last one off the dock when the sun set, and they were locking up the dock. Like they closed it and they put a chain on the gate. So I have to leave. I was only leaving when they made me leave. And he saw me do that every day for 5 months, washing boats and fixing and being diligent and tenacious, until he finally said, come on, let's go sailing. So yes, I believe you put it out there. I want to be a Paralympian, or I'm going to be with Magnus Lidgedal, a gold Olympian. But it wasn't just wishing it. It was doing whatever it took to happen. But then things would happen.
Yeah, that's
like my boat was
distinction.
Yeah. You got to make it happen. You put it out there, and there is the law of attraction. And the law of attraction, or God, or the universe, whatever you believe in Allah, who you believe in, it's the power of belief, and then making it happen, right? That's really key. And so what you believe in, your God, put Magnus in my life, but I had to do the work to create an open conversation with Magnus. I had to generate a listening with Magnus, right? I had to get through his filter. What he cared about was washing his boats. So that's where I had to start, right? Who am I? I'm a nobody. Why should he give me a handout, right? He's very busy. I'm very busy. So how come all these people feel like they can approach me for free, right? And make a difference? There's actually I was so lucky. I went viral about 9 days ago. There's over 9 million views on this video of me talking about being told no going to kindergarten.
Oh,
right?
Wow.
Right? And 9 million views.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's huge.
Yeah.
But you can imagine I also now have 9 million people messaging me.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful. But they're not messaging me, come work and to my stage and make a difference. They're like, free. And I've done 8 nights of 1 hour sleep, 8 nights in a row.
Oh, wow.
My very best to lovingly reply to everybody. I care, I feel for you, you can do it, you got to make this happen. But I can't, there isn't a magical wand that gets me to fly to all these countries unless somebody pays for the airline ticket. There's nobody paying my rent, my mortgage, right? So I want to make a difference for world peace 2035. And I want to be a very generous philanthropist. But that takes also receiving the appropriate wage to be on your stage. And I didn't expect Magnus to coach me for free, right? I worked, what could I give Magnus? What could I do for Magnus? And I washed his boats and fixed his boats and fetched his lunch, right? I couldn't buy him a big, house to work for me, but I could buy his lunches and he could buy my lunches when I worked for him.
Yeah.
And so it's when you're seeking something from somebody that's really successful, what can you bring to the table for them? Not for a barter, but just for an acknowledgement of respect and diligence and tenacity for what went into making it happen.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of people miss that second part about what can you offer in exchange. It's not just about putting your hand up for help. It's about saying, how can I actively take steps myself to change the situation?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tracy, where do you feel most at peace with yourself? Where's your special place, either in your mind or a physical place? What does that magic place look like? Where you feel most at peace?
I'm most at peace, and time just disappears. You put me in a boat And I have no idea how much time passed. I remember going out, I was in the North Sea in Holland on this island called Robinson Crusoe Island. And it was part of an expedition on a tall ship. And we used to go from port to port to port in North Sea in this community adventure type of group. And I wasn't the lead. Kathy Smart was the lead facilitator, but I was a support to her of sorts. And so we had this free day on this island, and there was a sailboat, a catamaran. And I went off for half an hour to sail just close by in this catamaran. Well, they come out in this motorboat, like, and their eyes were all like, when they saw me, when they got to me, I'm like, hi. And they're like, Tracy. And I'm like, what? I'm having a great time. I love this catamaran. It's fabulous. And it's so awesome. And the water and the wind, it's just great, great, great. And they're like, Tracy, you've been gone for like 5 hours. We didn't know if you were alive anymore, right? Like, I didn't have a radio, and they don't know me, no arms, no legs, no sailor. Like, Kathy knew I could sail, but still, I'd never been in that particular catamaran before. And so I lose all sense of time when I'm in a sailboat. Really just love being on the water. And, you know, the other place is art. Love drawing and painting. And I'm definitely not thinking about the laundry or the 9 million messages that are waiting for me if I'm drawing or sailing. So because there's not a lot of sailing here in Toronto in this cold -40 freezing spell that we got going on right now. And I really, my heart just went out to these magnificent people that are messaging me with their heartwarming stories and things that they could, and I want to make a difference for every single one. Like, I want to leave no one behind, which is what the video is about. And I don't want to say no to anybody on this incredible outpouring of love that's like mind-blowing. Never in a million years expected would happen. It's just like I spoke on a stage and they shared the video and Goldcast posted it, and then bam, 9 million views, right? Like, it was, I was excited when there were 300,000 views the first day. And that's like every day, another million, another million, another million. It's amazing.
Wow.
And so I fall asleep knowing there's people that are sharing and reaching out. And so I just did all these days, and then it just got so overwhelmed. I got so exhausted because I had like 9 days of very little sleep. The only sleep I got, I fell asleep like at the computer, and I woke up, which isn't great sleep. And then you do some more trying to support and message people some love.
It sounds like you need a new system, Tracy, of how to
I do need a new system.
Need a new system. And
I do.
You know how you were talking about when you were hiking in the Nepal without your arms and legs, without your legs on, how it was that letting go of that attachment. I'm hearing that same thing now, that attachment to have to answer to every one person immediately, separately.
And that is so resoundingly true. The flip chart, that is the universe or God or Allah saying, yes, Barbara, hit her over the head with that lesson. That's a really good lesson. That's what that was.
That's my screen to keep the burning hot sun out of my eyes that the dogs move the thing.
And I'm sitting in a very cold basement and with no water to flush my toilet because the pipes burst from the freezing cold.
Oh, geez, yeah. Well, I think we're going to have to get you down to... We're going to have to get you to Australia for sure, and down to Tassie where there's lots of great, I shouldn't say great sailing, it's challenging sailing is what the sailors say. You know, you've got one of the strongest channels between the mainland and the island of Tasmania that, and that's why it's such a fast race when they sail from Sydney to Hobart. But that metaphor of, I really see you doing something really big. Maybe it's you doing a special, 1 hour a week or of how you're offering and you're answering questions, that it's a global answer and maybe you're picking 2 or 3 stories from the emails, but that you don't have to feel so attached to answering every single one because you'll go insane.
But they don't know, right? Like you have to reply to somebody to say, I'm so sorry I can't reply, but tune in on Monday. Like you actually have to reply to that. You have to tell them that too.
Or you set up your Manny bot, you set up your chat bot to do that. And then it just can link them right to, here's a video I just did last week. Or here's how you get on my mailing list. We'll chat. We'll chat because it's a phenomenal thing that the vision of who you are and what you're doing is clear to the world. And that's such a beautiful thing. But I don't want to see it pulling you down because there's too much of it. Too stressful to
and I've had to start sleeping. Yeah.
You have to start sleeping. Yeah, we'll chat after this because
But
there are ways to automate this that will be incongruent with who you are and what you're sharing with people.
Yeah. And
it is
art
very
did it for me. So when you were saying what gets you into the zone, I couldn't go sailing, and I'm like, I gotta do something. And then I realized, on art. And so a friend was being as helpful as she could be. So then I started drawing a picture about her in thank you to her about our friendship, because she's the one helping me survive this big wave of stuff. There's 2 of them, but I started this picture for this one at the time. I need to do another one for the other friend. And that just like, that just deflated me. And it was great. And it had me realize, okay, this isn't doing anybody any good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I got a bit of a bingo, but I need a bigger bingo. You're right. I like that you picked up on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So Tracy, what advice would you give someone? You've got now 9 million people asking you for advice. What's the one piece that you would say, this is where you got to start?
Yeah. So what my sort of the tagline is, if I can do it, 4-way amputee, ski, sail, fly airplanes, bus Uber to Canada, bus airlines, right? Do community work in Uganda or Jamaica or Mexico, right? Or climb the Himalayas. Like, if I can do it, you can do anything. No excuses. And I like to tell people in somewhat empathy that I realize no excuses is very tough love.
Yeah.
And I realize there's a lot of people out there that have a very good excuse. They have a very good reason that might be limiting them or stopping them or pausing them at the moment. And so the worst thing in the world is not being born a 4-way amputee. The worst thing in the world is a good excuse, a good reason, a good limit, a good obstacle that has you justify being on a couch.
Yeah, why
not getting out and doing what you can do. So there's tough love with no excuses, but the bonus is no excuses, no limits. No excuses, no limits. And I feel for you. I feel for a good excuse. That's the worst in the world. But a good excuse is just limiting. Gives you a reason to be limited. And you can accept that. No one would judge you for being limited with that reason, with that excuse. No one would judge me.
Yeah.
With a good excuse, you're limited. No excuses, no limits.
That's fantastic. I like that. I like that a lot. So last, we'll finish this up. I know you've got to get going and apparently reply to 9 million more messages. But so one last thing.
Watch the video.
Can you finish these sentences? The world needs.
The world needs to disarm their limiting beliefs.
Oh, excellent. Oh,
the world needs to disarm their limiting beliefs. I believe in world peace 2035.
Yeah.
The world needs to disarm their limiting. I spell limb, L-I-M-B, because I'm limb, no limb.
Yeah.
The world needs to disarm their limiting beliefs for the best version of themselves. And Barbara and Sue and Unstoppable Tracy, we support that. Let us support finding your best version of yourself.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Unstoppable Tracy. Sue, do you have any last questions for Tracy?
No, and I was just taken by you trying to answer 9 million messages, and when you do have that kind of impact on somebody's life, you really do want to keep that personal touch and answer everybody, because they're reaching out with their heart, and obviously you're a very, very heart-based person and you want to be able to do it. But
and I didn't put out a cold message, right? Like, I don't want to be inconsistent with what they're expecting, right? They saw this really raw, vulnerable 3-minute story that brought people to tears and then brought them to laughing out loud. And so if I answer with an automatic robot, they'll be like, what? I thought she was real, and I am real, right? So I got to find a balance.
Yeah,
I think, I don't know, maybe a video with you just speaking, that could not be robotic, and it could reach just about everybody and do a video reply to a general thing, but that would still get your message across to them and know that they have been answered. So
how awesome are you? That might be it. So Barbara might teach me how to do an automatic video reply, maybe, if you can do videos in your Autobot.
There's ways of linking it all up to where you want to engage them, and they choose to be engaged. They say, oh yeah, no, I want more,
Yeah.
We'll chat.
Follow us.
Yeah.
You have 4 pages, Barbara. Just find her name, Barbara Lone, find Susan Christensen, right? You'll see their name spelling in the event. Find them and find Unstoppable Tracy with no E. I have no hands and no legs and no E in Tracy. No extra parts with me.
And no limits.
No limit for any of us. I got to be born limitless. You can be limitless too.
Yeah. Thank you, Tracy. Love you. I really appreciate what you're sharing with the world, and you're a major asset to what the best that the world
mankind.
So thank you.
Thank you. Love you guys too.
Video. I can stop the recording here. Thank you, Tracy.